Tech Addicts, a podcast we used to take seriously. This week, Elgato does good things and bad things. Apple can update your iPhone before you buy it. There's a solar-powered car, the equivalent of a disposable camera. Microsoft get transparent about storage, and the Ioneo Flip excites. Hello and welcome to the Tech Addicts Podcast. I'm your host Gareth, and I'm joined, as I normally am, by Ted Salmon. Ted, how are you?
Hello. How lovely to make your reacquaint myself with you, Gareth.
Well, it has been a whole 10 days, hasn't it?
Have you had a lovely 10 days without me?
Yes, counting the days until we could get back together again and record one of these, I guess you'd call them shows, wouldn't you?
I guess so. If floundering around trying to think of things to say and trying to pretend that we know anything about them is a show, then it's a show.
Between 2 and 2.5 hours.
Talking of which, have you got your Like Whatever Works and PSC and Chewing Gum for the Ears? Have you got this podcast yet onto YouTube Music?
I have not. They have not supplied me with the requisite option to be able to do that. Just checking now.
We were talking about that in the week, and it turns out that there's a switch that has to be thrown for individual people's accounts. Steve's Google account and my Google account, we got the switch thrown, but yours, Gareth, it was just not up there as an option. Is it there now?
Well, I'm just clicking through. Give me a second.
Sorry, I wouldn't like to rush you. While you're doing that, I'll tell you about the way in which the weather is...
No, it's not. It's not.
The weather in North Wales is very sunny today, but quite nice, coolish temperature, so I'm very happy.
Similarly, about 200 miles away from you, it's the same.
The very same. Apparently there's some weather coming up from the south, according to the Met Office. Rain,
a couple of trucks full of weather. Brilliant.
Special delivery. Rain and wind are on their way, so that'll make me even happier.
Yes.
So we can't get Tech Addicts yet onto YouTube Music. It is quite good, actually. Once you get it up and running, I looked at the Whatever Works one and the PSC one, and it's all there, sitting there, lovely, as good as gold, and people can access it now from somewhere else.
Well, you don't have to rub it in there.
It'll come. Northern Ireland
no
won't
intention of rubbing it in, my good man.
Northern Ireland won't be banned forever.
Well, I'm just thinking that they're probably thinking it's probably better off not being on YouTube. You know, the less Tech Addicts, the better. That's what Google would probably say.
Yeah. We'll have to, if we're going to get this broad coverage, we'll have to get some adverts going like everyone else does. Brought to you this week by Logitech.
I don't think they'd want to be attached to it either. Might be lucky. We've got something that is linked into the show to come, but it's not exactly groundbreaking Nintendo sponsorship or anything. But we're going to start with Nintendo because, Ted, you've been experiencing the new Super Mario Bros.
Wonder. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, apparently, is what it's called. Not just Super Mario Wonder. Anyway, it's really very impressive. I love the whole 2D thing. And the learning curve, the relearning curve, is executed just so nicely. And it gets you back up to, well, I've been away from it for some years, since the Super NES, the SNES. And, you know, it just brings you back up. Each level you go through draws out the practice you need to get the skills in place. And it just does it really, really well. The learning curve is excellent. It's pretty childish, I have to say. But then all of Nintendo stuff is aimed at Japanese teenagers, isn't it? And kids. And also, there's an annoying 5-minute start thing that goes on that you can't skip by, where you just get all these text boxes up telling you the backstory and all that claptrap before you actually get in there and be able to play it all, which is helpful.
Like a tutorial.
Yeah, it's like a tutorial, but it just goes on forever. So for goodness sake, I know how to play this. Let's get to it. And then as you start to go through the levels, as well as the learning curve for the skills, you get pop-ups all over the place. Now, I'm sure that over time, as you get further into the game, they'll all disappear. But that, it's just annoying to begin with. But the gameplay is just super. I've got through the first castle, which is really good. And even that, going into the castle, which I remember being really, really quite difficult. You need quite intricate skills with your controller to get through. The first one was, relatively easy. Again, it's the learning curve, which they've done really well. One thing I noticed, the difference between the SNES controller and the Switch Lite, the Nintendo Switch Lite, which is what I've got, is that joystick thingy on the right hand side is right in the way of the ABXY. So when you're trying to get your thumb on the particularly the running and jumping at the same time, that joystick is just in the way. So I wonder if there's some other joystick I could use instead of having to use it on the device itself, but I'll look into that. But overall, it's fabulous, fun, and the 2D is just brilliant. I hated when Mario went to 3D. I gave up at that point, and I think that putting this out by Nintendo is a complete masterstroke. This will be a huge seller at Christmas, I think, especially for kids, particularly Japanese kids, and probably further beyond as well. Really, really good. I'm ever so impressed, and I'm glad that I got it on that special offer. So thanks to Chris Clayton for spotting that in Curry's.
So you're playing this on the Switch Lite as opposed to the regular Switch?
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't felt the need to go and get yourself a regular Switch to play this, on the big screen.
It would be nice, yeah. And I had, as you might remember, I had a little while ago bought a regular big Switch, and I didn't really use it. Now, if I had it now, I might well do, but I'm not inclined to go and pay another £300 just for one game to do that. But it depends how much I enjoy it. If I do eventually, then I might, I don't know, trade in my soul for a. I could sell my Sony phone and buy one.
Yeah, okay. But the obviously the bigger Switch, it wouldn't alleviate the problems that you're having with the button layout, because it's the same layout. Yes,
it is, but you can. I'm sure that you can buy a cabled controller that is laid out differently. In fact, we've highlighted them on this show before. These little controllers that emulate. In fact, I've got one. Do you remember I bought that Nintendo Mini SNES thingy? And I wonder is that USB-C? I can't remember if the cable is USB-C or not. But if it is, that might work. I forgot about that.
I don't know if you can plug a controller into the Lite, because it is designed to be fully portable.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. I've seen people doing it. When I started to investigate it, I saw that you can do that. But Bluetooth would be no good, because you'd have latency, no doubt, and it just wouldn't work. You need a cable. Anyway, I shall continue to look into it.
So you're just not a fan of the Xbox layout. You want the PlayStation layout, which moves the thumbsticks about a bit.
That would be great, yeah. That would be better. But as I say, I'm not likely to buy a console just for one game. I shall struggle on. Perhaps the evolution of my thumbs will adjust so they can work.
Yeah, you could do that, or play it upside down.
Oh yeah,
excellent. Well, I did see on the MeWe group that you were having a chat with some of the other folks who were getting down with Mario. Yeah. So it's a big relaunch, actually. Mario's done well this year. The big movie and now this game. Seems that they're firing on all thrusters.
Yeah, definitely. And the other people in the group are all saying that they're really enjoying it as well. I think it is, as I say, a masterstroke. I think that Nintendo just got their heads screwed on. This is going to be a huge seller.
Yeah. Cool. All right, well, Jeremy Harpham has written in about the Google Chromebook update extension. And he says this was mentioned by us recently, or at least Ted did in his Chrome Coroner section, and that Google has extended support for various Chromebooks with up to 10 years of Chrome OS updates. And he's seen that it appears in the Chromebook under Settings about Chrome OS and the update schedule. His Lenovo Duet is now June 2030, and the Lenovo Duet 5 is the same. And you've got that as well in your Duet 3.
Yeah, my Duet 3 is showing the same as Jeremy's, June 2030. So, yeah, the point is that they've kind of now adjusted that setting in Chrome OS to reflect those new dates, which are longer. So that's great. Yep.
Yeah. I should have checked my Asus, but it's currently in a bag in my mum's house.
Might be tricky.
I left it there a couple of days ago. Right. Yes. But one thing I have been playing with, which I was using round at my mother's house to test because it's the only thing I could find with a 3.5mm headphone jack, but it's not targeted at that, is the Final VR 2000, which is a set of virtual reality focused isolated gaming headphones. Using them on the Chromebooks is hardly the best application for them, and I was going to plug them into my son's Meta. However, his right controller, which I can go into a tirade about that, his right controller had stopped working a couple of weeks ago, and I've been trying to get Meta to replace the right controller for some time. But it finally arrived yesterday, and my son's got that set up, so I'll be able to use these on my son's Meta to see how they work, because they're gaming earphones that have a focus more so on VR and 3D scapes or 3D audio setups. So they will work with his Meta quite well, and you can use them on the likes of the PlayStation and the Xbox because they have a special setup that allows you to use them with those. They are equipped with a newly designed F-Core DU driver unit. I think the DU stands for driver unit. And they're really quite good, to be honest, even just with regular sound, which is what I've been using them for up to now. I had them hooked up to my PC and I was playing a bit of Starfield on them. And I have to say that the 3D setup on them is really excellent. You can hear an awful lot going on and know the location of the baddies that you're shooting at when you're playing the game.
Behind you as well.
Behind you as well,
yeah.
Which is something that a stereo setup should be able to do quite well, but not as well as these. Mm-hmm. And the nice thing about these is that they're only priced at £60. And with full transparency, Final have sent over a copy for me, or have sent over a pair for me to play with. I didn't buy them, but I think that they're really actually quite good. And I've played them, played the PlayStation 5. With these plugged into the controller as well, and achieved that too. So they really are quite good. And at £60, that's not a lot to have to shell out to play these. The sound quality is excellent, and I've done some testing as well. And I found, where did I put them? I did a bit of a range test as well to see how well these would work. I've been typing up a written review of these recently, and I found that the range test, it was quite effective, and it produced the full 20 hertz to 15,000 hertz range rather well. It didn't go above 15,000, but then that's heading into fully remarkable territory for audiophiles and stuff like that. But from 20 to 15,000, this handled very well, which is really good, especially for this price bracket. It's been a while since I've reviewed any headphones, so I'm a bit off with doing it. But these are wired headphones as well, so they come with a 1.2 meter cable that you can plug in there, which is a decent length, and you can, well, if you're using it with the Meta headset, they'll be an awful lot better than over-ear cans because they're an awful lot smaller, so it's a lot less cumbersome on your head. But you can achieve some really good sound there, and I think the sound representation and quality here is very, very good for the £60 that they're asking. Yeah. So if you have a an Oculus Rift or even PlayStation or Xbox, these are something to look at if you want
But
a wee
not
pair
Nintendo.
Well, I haven't thought
You
about
get
that.
3D sound from a Nintendo Switch Lite.
You might do. I never thought about the Nintendo. Maybe I should charge up my son's Lite for the first time in like this year, because he just hasn't bothered with these at all. And give it a go on that and see what that.
What are those two hooks for?
Well, that's one of the things that I quite liked about them
Right.
as well. You put the cable in them, and they're over-ear hooks,
Oh,
so
right.
they don't fall quite as easily. So I particularly know these sorts of things for going walking or hiking or running, as my wife likes to do with them. But they can hook over your ears, and then whenever you attach your Meta, they don't fall out quite as easily, and it holds them in place a lot better. And it's really, really simple silicone kind of what would you call them?
Plastic?
Well, no, they're silicon, but they wrap around the cables, and then you just place them
Channel.
over your ears. Channel, yeah. I
A
suppose
channel you put the wire in.
yeah, and it clips around it.
And presumably the inline control is volume up and down and play pause or something, is it? It's got
It
a
is,
microphone in it as well, it says.
It does, yeah, and the microphone's really quite good. I made a call, and the person said I was really very, very clear.
Right.
So it's a good microphone in there too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you know, all those crappy microphones that you get on your PlayStation and your Xbox, this will be much better.
They do look really, really good value for money. I do agree. Personally, I wouldn't like them because of the in-canal ear thingy. But laying that aside, for those that doesn't bother, they look great.
For total immersion, I think they're really quite good, and I'm looking forward to playing them on my son's Meta. Now that we've got the controller back, and I can give that a go.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, and the Meta returns thing. What most people said to me, "Oh, it's brilliant. It's really, really easy to do." No, it is not. I contacted Meta about 3 times, and then I went on and had an online chat with someone, and they went, "Yeah, I can't see why they didn't take it back." And it must have taken me about a month to be able to get this done. But once it happened, it was relatively simple. Just printed the thing out and send it back. And then they replaced it with a refurbished model. And this one actually says Oculus on it, as opposed to Meta, which it says on the rest of my son's Quest 2. But yeah, it was flawless once I managed to get rid of all the flaws, if that makes sense, in the process.
So that's it then. Sponsorship for this show is by Final.
Pretty much, yes. But they don't know that I'm talking about it on the show. They've just asked me to review and do a video or something like that with their headphones. But I've done that, and I've talked about it on the show. So if you have Meta, these might be a good option for you. I also wanted to throw a wee thing out personally for me, because I quite like this and I would love to go, but I can't this year. Crash Live is happening over in the Holiday Inn in Warwickshire. I think it is Warwickshire, which is a place in England. It's in the centre of England. I had a quick look at the map, and it's Kenilworth.
Kenilworth, yeah.
Do you know that in
I
Warwickshire?
do, yeah. It's kind of around the M5 as you go up from Gloucester northwards. It's not far away from me.
Oh, right, okay. Well, they're doing a Crash Live. It's a Spectrum-based, Sinclair Spectrum-based get-together of lots of people. They're going to have 60 Sinclair systems for you to play games on. Games that you'd probably quite like, Ted. With the early years of 1982 to 1983, the classic years of 1984 to 1987, and the latter years of 1988 to 1992. And what will happen next? There's a raffle where I think you could win a bunch of things. I think one of them is a ZX Spectrum Next in white, which is the new version of the Spectrum. Paul Jenkinson and Jeff Neal are going to be recording a Spectrum show there, which is, I think I've mentioned it before. It's a monthly YouTube-based visual show that you can tune in and see, where Paul and Jeff are tinkering around with all things Spectrum and playing games and any new hardware or old hardware that they've happened to get their hands on. It's very, very interesting to watch. And they're going to be showing or filming something to do with that at this show. It's taking place on the 18th of November, and there's still some tickets available, and I've stuck a link in the show notes below for where you can pick them up. So if you happen to be around Kenilworth and fancy a wee bit of retro action, you can do that and turn up and have a Saturday's worth of Spectrum, all the Spectrum you could like.
Very exciting indeed. Oh, I just looked up Kenilworth and I'm a little bit out. It's not exactly on the M5. It's actually closer to the M40. So it's a bit further east than I thought it was, but it's certainly very central. Not far from Birmingham.
Okay, all right. Yes, and Coventry seems to be nearby as well, which would be near Leicester and Northampton and Cheltenham. Cheltenham
is nearer Gloucester way. I used to live in Gloucester, so I know that patch. But yeah, it's very central. It's a good decision on location, I reckon.
Yeah, near Warwick Castle.
Very exciting.
I've got it up on Google Maps now. I don't know England particularly well. In fact, at all. I've been to London a number of times, and that's about it. I think it was in Manchester.
And somebody who's travelled the world, it's shocking. Mind you, you've always been on boats, haven't you? Sorry, ships.
Yes, and liners as opposed to
yes.
Right, okay, well, moving into the news and views. We're going to start off with, controversy, big controversy, and it looks like the US is going to be imposing a new round of sanctions on chip exports to China because they've had a look at some of Huawei's new chipsets, and it would appear that they've got access to certain chips that they shouldn't have access to given the current round of sanctions. Ted, what's going to happen? Are you going to have to go in there and sort this out?
I think, yeah, definitely, with my hatchet. I think what's going on here is that China have decided that they're going to make their own chips, and particularly they've gone into the 5G chipsets. But they do need to source parts in order to do so from other companies and import and all the rest of it. So. Because this then leads on to the kind of whole AI chips thing, America are getting very sniffy about it again, and they're saying we don't want these AI chips to be shipped into devices that are going to end up in the hands of our American citizens. So they're just banning, I think the new ban is about banning any parts that China might try to buy in order to, from America of course, in order to develop the AI that they're doing, but also banning Americans from buying any stuff that comes out of China that has anything to do with AI. And I think it's probably, the bottom line is about that. They don't want China's AI in America, and they're taking these steps to try and make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's all about AI, isn't it? I've got a funny feeling this show is going to be very AI focused. Having a look at the show notes, there's a lot about it. Maybe we should set up a new section called Call Me Al.
Yes. In fact, we won't be needed soon. AI will just do the podcast.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, we don't even have to get out of bed and waste 3 hours of our lives doing
that? Sunday mornings may look very different for us.
Brilliant. Can't wait. Okay. Well, another big bit of news, which is not quite, I suppose it is tech focused, but it's not what people normally expect us to talk about, is that the coal mines across Europe could be used to produce power.
Yeah,
Abandoned coal mines.
This is fascinating. That in Gateshead, apparently, the coal mines underneath half of England, where they have got abandoned mines, have naturally filled up with water from the earth. And because they're like up to a mile or two deep into the earth, of course the earth is heating up the water that's in it. So they found a way in Gateshead to siphon off the water, to pipe the water by drilling boreholes and bringing the water up into the town, essentially, and then piping that around to generate energy in order to heat homes much more cheaply. Now, I'm sure someone's making money on it, but the point is that it's renewable energy, because it works very much like a giant radiator. If you think about a radiator, the water comes up into one side, it heats up what the radiator, in this case the town of Gateshead, and then when it's cooled down, it goes down the other side, back down to the mine, and the earth reheats it. It's just fiendish, isn't it? It's a brilliant idea. And, why not indeed? No doubt it'll make loads of sinkholes in the town, but...
Well, that's essentially the idea of a heat pump, isn't it? This, where the water's pumped down into the ground, heated up by the earth, and back up again into your radiators. And underwater, or underfloor heating.
Fiendish, just like the Romans did.
It is, but it's not really, really hot water. I think that's the one thing that people will be let down by, is that it's going to be somewhat middlingly warm. And it'll just keep your house a wee bit warmer than it is outside, because it's not at like 40 degrees or anything.
I don't know, I saw a figure here that I thought, funny you should mention 40 degrees, because I thought it said that it could get to 40 degrees, but maybe I misread that.
It is, but if it heats up to 40 degrees, by the time it gets to your house, it might be a good bit less than that.
Yeah.
And that's the argument with the heat pump, where people are expecting their houses to be really, really, nice and warm, but they're not. They're just sort of warmer than it is outside.
Look at that map, though. There's a map on this website, which we're going to link to, euronews.com, of all the potential places across England and Wales and Scotland where this could potentially be done and happen. There's an awful lot of scope there.
There is. I think the most important thing is that it's sort of harbouring largest cities, not including London, but you've got Glasgow, Edinburgh, Leeds, Manchester, Birmingham, Nottingham, and Cardiff and Bristol, which are kind of catchment areas for these largish areas. So it could take quite a bit of a burden off the natural or the unnatural provision of warmth to the smaller towns.
And the rest of us can have solar panels.
Very true for the 2 days of sun that we get during the summer. Yeah. Well, I suppose the other thing that they could do is start sticking in hydroelectric power, where they're pumping this out, and it can go through various different generators in order to do that.
Make it hotter. Yeah, I'm sure that technically they've worked ways around to make sure that it's warm enough to be of use. Otherwise, they wouldn't bother, would they? But it's using the Earth's warmth to do something. We spoke about this a couple of shows back about another scheme I seem to remember about using wasn't it the Russians that were drilling the deepest hole ever dug into the Earth to make energy available? Can't remember now. Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Vaguely remember that. Okay. All right. Well, moving from one topic to another with ease. Brave is going to be installing VPN services on your computer if you use Brave without you consenting to it. Unfortunately, they look to charge for such a VPN solution, and it's going to be $9.99 a month, which seems a bit much. But Brave uses there's like a scheme that they have built into their browser that you can actually make money back by using Brave, but it takes quite a lot of effort for you to actually raise a bit of a profit with Brave. But yeah, it's more of an opt-out strategy that they're doing here, where the technology will already be built into your browser, and you'll have to pay for it if you want to take advantage of it, but it's going to be there ready to go when you need it. Do you use Brave? Have you used
Brave? No, but I know you have. This scheme, though, reminded me of the whole thing in which Google's done with the Pixel Watch and Fitbit. It's like you're forced to have it on there, and if you're not careful, after you get your 6 months of free whatever it is, they'll start charging you. And I'm not sure if Brave are doing that exactly, but I think what they're naffed off about is the fact that it's auto-installed. Although, to be fair, Brave have said is that the company is going to address this issue in future releases. So they realise that it's against their privacy policy and, all they stand for at Brave. So it looks like it's a bit of some drongo in some office somewhere has dreamt it up and put it into place, and they haven't really thought about it.
Well, that's a bit worrying that they actually acknowledge that they've made a bit of a stupid mistake by doing this, but fuck it, let's just get it out there. That's what big corporations do, and then apologise for it later. But at the same time, anyone who is interested in this, obviously there are other VPNs available, and you really should be looking at whether or not you actually need a VPN for what you're doing. Because the VPNs are very much sold to people as, protect yourself from online scams and things like that with a VPN, but that's not actually what they're for. And I watched an interesting documentary on YouTube. I can't remember the name of the girl on YouTube that does it. Brooke something. She's got long red hair and glasses. She's excellent at what she does, and sort of putting it together into bite-sized nuggets so that you can understand what she's talking about. I'll leave a link to one of her videos in the show notes. She breaks down what VPNs actually do, and then all the VPNs that you see online are actually kind of repackaged versions of the same VPN, and that they're just sort of selling these to you, and you think that you are using it, and you think that you need it to protect yourself online, whereas the likes of something, you might not actually need a VPN. You may prefer what I use, which is a WireGuard solution, which is a lot more robust for what I use it for, and also paying for it monthly is a bit ridiculous. The WireGuard deal that I have cost me $15 for the year, whereas the likes of what Brave is looking to do here is $9.99 a month, and what does that get you? It's problematic at best, and it's reselling something that someone else is selling you for a massive amount of profit. I think Brave is now being scratched off my list of potential browsers to utilize outside of where I am with Chrome, and what I believe is my own kind of secure setup. That I haven't heard otherwise that it isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've never used Brave, but as I say, I know you dabbled with it for a while, but you came away from it, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I used it for a very short amount of time, and then I realised that it's not really all that lucrative to use unless you're really, really pushing stuff through it. It's a weird thing, and as soon as you start to make a profit, they'll probably change the terms and services, but like YouTube do all the time, where you might be making a decent amount of money, then they'll just go, oh no, we're implementing these changes, and you see your profits half overnight. And it's just one of those sorts of things that get people on board and then ruined.
The bastards.
But yeah, that's right, they are. So Ted, I'm going to let you take the lead on EE while I look up the name of the girl on YouTube that people should be watching for VPN.
With the huge glasses.
Yeah.
And the red hair. Well, this actually relates more to you than me, to be honest, because it's all mostly about Northern Ireland, and the fact that EE have decided that they're going to put 139 4G masts up in Northern Ireland and other places as part of the shared rural network. Now, you have complained on the show about Northern Ireland and coverage and all the rest of it, but it's a bit surprising that they're investing all this money into 4G. You just expect them to be doing 5G now, although they do say that the 5G rollout will benefit from this 139 mobile masts. So presumably they can throw a switch later on and it will be 5G. Well, you'd like to think it would be. 95% of the UK by the end of 2025 is the target, which doesn't help people in pockets of, where they're not going to cover it. But, and it's always going to be demand led, which is what they're saying, because they're not going to put masts up in the middle of the Irish Sea because there's no bugger there. So it's got to be somewhere where people are going to use it to a large degree. And if you've got a place like we were saying about the middle of America on a show a while back, that people complain because if you live in the middle of the unpopulated areas of America, you can't get any signal coverage. Well, actually, it's not surprising because if you were in business putting up masts and running a mobile cellular service, you're not going to put them up where no one lives. You put them up where people do live. So anyway, the government commitment apparently to this whole broadband rollout is forcing some companies into. Have you found it yet? I'm fed up with waffling.
No, I'm quite enjoying listening to you. Yeah.
So do you think that'll make a difference to you in Northern Ireland?
I do on one hand, but then I don't on the other. For those who know, we obviously have all the same providers that they have on the mainland. We've got EE, we've got 3 in Vodafone are now somewhat similar, and what's the other one? O2. Yeah. And each of them has their strengths and weaknesses here. EE is the one that a lot of people do tend to say they get the best coverage with, but it depends on where they are. And having a look at one thing here, it just seems that how can that really be a thing? EA is the most expensive company for you to take out here, and they're obviously doing this scheme where they're taking £500 million of public funding and then providing £532 million from various operators to extend the 4G network across Northern Ireland. 500, so half of it is being paid publicly from public funding. And Northern Ireland already has an £800 million deficit that they need to plug. So they're stopping, feeding children and things like that in order to be able to pay for that. But £500 million was found to be able to do this. What does the actual people get out of this? If £500 million of public funding is being put into this, that's half of what's being put into this. We don't actually. We have to go and pay these exorbitant rates to BT and to Virgin to be able to cover the telecommunications that we receive. It's not like it's going to reduce the price or anything. It's just going to give us a bit more coverage where we may not have coverage. Yeah. And at that, EE isn't particularly good where I live. Hopefully it will be after this, but what if it's not? Am I still going to have to pay my taxes to be able to cover this £500 million? I can't take a step back and go, hang on a second, you're not doing anything for me. But you're still going to take my tax money and increase the network probably where you are, or in the centre of Belfast, or in the centre of Londonderry, or one of the other bigger cities that's up and coming. I have Vodafone where I live, and that's it. 3 and O2 are non-existent in my house. EE, I don't think are particularly good here, but it could have changed. Hopefully it will change with this, but that just gives me the opportunity to be able to go and pay a large amount of money to EE for my service. And it's a larger amount of money than what I'm currently paying to Vodafone, which again is a larger amount of money than what I would have been paying to 3 or O2, who don't have any form of signal where I live. So this is the same thing across the water as well, where people are in their house going, oh, I've got crap signal here, but I'm going to have to move to another company in order to be able to have it. We should have a motion here that if £500 million is being put in from public funding to help with this, and £532 million from operators, then every single company should be able to offer the same, and you get to choose which subscription you take out from whichever network you like, because taxpayer money is going into this. I should be able to just go, right, well, okay, I can move from Vodafone to 3 because they're doing a better deal. That they're hooked into another company. O2 and Virgin are the same thing. So if I've got Virgin broadband into my house, then I should be able to jump onto O2's network and be able to get a better phone deal as well. That's where competition comes in, not from the point of view that EE are now putting in £1 billion into covering this, half of it paid by the UK, and then it turns out that some people aren't able to get access to this and have to use O2 or 3, wherever they happen to be, or in my case, Vodafone. Did my rant make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, the government commitment to 95% of the UK by the end of 2025, with 5G rollout benefiting, doesn't say that it has to be all of the networks doing all of the coverage. It's just to have 95% covered. And if O2 are doing it, or if Vodafone are doing it, or EE are doing it, I don't think that matters, as long as 95% of the coverage is done. There's also the issue that we've spoken about on the show recently, about £500 million of public funding, putting more masts up. Is that very wise when the Earth is being littered by the coverage of satellites, and broadband via the airwaves and not masts might be the way forward anyway, and 500 million quid could be spent on that system instead of continuing to put masts on hundreds of masts up.
Well, that's true. Yeah. It's a fair point. 95%, or as I think it is, 98% in Northern Ireland. That's still not good enough. Well, I want 100% coverage. If they're plucking out of the public purse.
But then we go back to what I said about the middle of America. Is, does the government, does the taxpayer pay for supporting 100% coverage in areas where no one lives, just in case you go through that area in your car one day and there's nobody living there? So it's a difficult one. It's a political kind of question about what you spend taxpayers' money on, isn't it?
Yeah, but if it is taxpayers and you're saying 95%, you can just increase that to 100. Given £500 million for a small area that is Northern Ireland, and compare Northern Ireland to the rest of the UK, the mainland. It's a fraction of the size. I think London is about the same size as Northern Ireland, but I would actually expect, if I was in London, to have 100% coverage anywhere I go in London. I think that would be a given because it's a city. But Northern Ireland, we don't have 100% coverage. We should have, given the size of it. And then you go down near the borders and you end up accidentally getting charged because it hasn't happened in a number of years because of the way it happened. But it's happened to me in the past where I've been close to the border, and I haven't actually been over the border, but I've jumped onto an Irish
roaming.
An Irish network, and then being charged that way, and I've had 3 go, well, we can't differentiate between the two. And it's like, well, you should be able to. I didn't cross the border. Why are you charging me? I got £150 charge. They phoned me and said you've latched on, and I'm like, no, I'm not paying that. Well, then you're going to have to pay the the roaming charges. I'm like, what year is this? And that was years ago. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it's something that the mainland doesn't really have to worry about that much, and I can see there are big pockets of the mainland that people don't live in, but certain small amounts do, and that would be a larger argument. But Northern Ireland's so small, there's no reason why it should be 95%.
Yeah. Of course, all this will be fixed by United Ireland. Let's not go there.
No. That's a whole can of worms. Or being back in Europe. There we go. That would make more sense. Right, okay. Well, we'll get on to some happy news. Retro digital cameras that look somewhat disposable. Tell us about the Camp Snap.
They do look a bit disposable. When they're cheap, they're 45 quid. So you could almost think they are disposable, but they're not. This is an attempt by this company called Camp Snap to make a old-fashioned retro-looking camera with a viewfinder and a wide-angle lens. It doesn't say what millimetre, but a wide-angle lens, which is a bright f1.8 fixed focus to take photographs with. We've spoken before about the rise in particularly young people of wanting to take photographs again, and this is, they say that their vision is to get people away from looking at screens all the time. So this camera doesn't even have a screen on the back, like traditionally digital little compact cameras would have. It's got a counter to tell you how many shots you've taken, but that's it. And it's got a rechargeable battery in it, and a viewfinder, and a flash, and that's it. You put this in your pocket, you don't go down the pub, and you take pictures of your mates, and you don't sit there after you've taken it reviewing it and showing everyone what it is and all the data that you normally get from a LCD screen on the back. It's just a simple old-fashioned retro style camera, cheap as chips, and when you get home you can plug it into your computer or your device or phone or tablet or whatever, get the photographs off, and then do what you like with them later. But in the meantime, this little 45 quid camera goes back in your pocket or back in your bag.
Right, okay. It does look kind of cute, and it's the sort of thing that kids would absolutely love, I suppose, and you don't have to worry about them taking away an expensive camera. But it's still quite expensive, isn't it? It's, what, $45 or $50?
Yep, 45 quid, but it's not these days. 45 quid's nothing, is it really? Well, to a 6-year-old kid, I suppose it is, but that doesn't have an income. But you know, I mean, come on.
Okay, you've convinced me. Come on.
You know,
there we go.
Anyway, it's a bit of fun by the looks of it, and for those that can afford it, yes, okay. For those that can afford 45 quid, no doubt at all, it'll be a nice stocking filler, and there'll be lots of kids waking up on Christmas morning, going around the house, snapping photographs, saying, "Wow, this is what you used to be like for you."
Yes. No, I do like it. I do wonder how it feels in the hand, whether it feels cheap or if it does feel quite solid, because the faux leather texture across the front of it makes it look quite nice, but just around the edges, it feels like it might be, really quite cheap disposable plastic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Could be. Yeah. Well, for 45 quid, it might well be. It holds 2,000 photographs, it says, and the battery should last for 500 shots. Oh, there's the lens. See if you can work this out, because they're quoting the in 4.8 millimeters as the focal length. I don't know what that is in old money, 35 millimeter terms, but no doubt someone can work it out. And yeah, let's see if you're allowed to order it yet. It's shipped on the 8th of November. 45 quid on their website, and 8th of November, it's ready to go. Even though it's shipping from America, but even so, they're quoting it in pounds, so they must be up for the. Mind you, they're probably. Let's put one in the cart and see how much delivery is.
£45.
Yeah. Checkout. Right, I'll go to the checkout now. Stand by. £45. Oh, they're not going to tell you how much shipping is unless you order one. That's very annoying. That is very annoying indeed.
Well, you'll just have to order one for Christmas, and then you can have all your happy snaps up. Yeah.
Oh,
all right, well, we'll move on to the next story because it looks quite interesting, to be honest. And it's about a solar-powered car. A solar-powered off-road car has finished a 620-mile test drive across North Africa. And I thought this was quite interesting. And I had a wee read through it, and I'm damned if I can work out how long it took them to do it. But I did notice that it said that the drivers aged between 21 and 25 were behind the wheel of the project. And I'm wondering if maybe they started at 21 and finished when they were 25, because they had to stop and wait for it to charge up. Ted, how long did they do it in? Did you get the information out of the article?
I can't get to the article. I'm clicking on the link, and The Guardian, where this is supposed to be, is not showing me the article, I'm afraid. Oh, here it is. It's just popped in. It took a bloody long time, for goodness sake. Right. It does a top speed of 90 miles an hour. It has a range of 400... Well, yeah, one of the questions someone in the group asked when I posted this article was, how does it actually charge itself? Because if you're driving it all day, presumably... Because it won't be able to charge itself at night because there's no sun. So it must charge itself during the day while you're going along, in which case it's using the charge, if you're driving all day, that you're getting into it. It's going out in terms of driving it. Anyway... They reckon that the test drive was 1,000 kilometres, 620 miles, and it did very well, 90 miles an hour. It says on a sunny day you can get 440 miles out of it. So, obviously, if it's pissing down with rain in Widnes, then you're not going to be able to drive even down to the local off licence.
Yes, but they were driving in, across Morocco and the Sahara, so
exactly.
It was somewhat sunny there.
Yeah.
It's quite well known for being a sunny area of the planet, and it's not like Grimsby or somewhere like that where it could rain any minute now.
It's an interesting idea, though, isn't it? Even if it worked as a top-up thing, all cars from 2030 have to have their roof panels and their bonnet made out of solar panels. Good idea.
Well, they have. I remember watching that before. I think your guy played Crichton. I can't remember anything today. In Red Dwarf, he does that fully charged show on YouTube. He was asking the question about why cars aren't covered in solar panels, and it is basically just down to it doesn't provide, or the small area of the car, because cars are actually getting smaller, despite the fact they do look bigger. We were having a chat off air, and Ted had a Hillman Minx, which is quite a small car. But given cars did start getting bigger and heavier, for them to be covered in solar panels, they wouldn't actually be able to have the necessary footprint to be able to actually charge very much, given the surface area that the solar panels would cover, and especially on smaller cars, but also to then incorporate the recharging machinery plus the battery that is required there, and the engine, to be able to rely on that solely. You would probably then need to have some sort of combustion engine inside to be able to drive whenever the battery died anyway. It would just... electric cars are heavy enough without having to have all of this technology inside of it, that the poor little solar panels are going to have to generate electricity to be able to pull it along. So this would be quite a heavy vehicle. It's
a bit like pulling up the hot water from the coal mines, like we were saying earlier. You need something else in there to help it along, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Robert Llewellyn.
Robert Llewellyn, that's that guy. But this car is obviously driving across the Sahara, which is very sandy. So it's not exactly a tarmac road. So it's going to have to... It's got the elements against it from the get-go. Driving on sand is not given the best traction and the best test possibility, but also obviously it's there because of the amount of sun that it'll be able to harness. And I still, looking through the article, I can't see how long it took for it to manage this 620-mile drive, and I think they've left that information out of it because it might be devastating to the task that they were trying to prove.
They took the students took a year off from their studies, so it's a maximum of a year.
Well, that probably did they design the car beforehand, or did they take the year off, go out, design the car, build the car, and then?
Oh no, here we go. Week and a half long experiment. The steering system on the olive green car failed during a week and a half long experiment in the dry and varied landscapes of North Africa.
So it took a week and a half,
Looks like
roughly,
it. Yeah.
to do. We'll take off half a week for them to fix the steering. So it took them a week to drive 620 miles.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's not very clear, is it?
No, and I think they've left that information out intentionally because it causes a problem. So it's not that we're going to suddenly start getting cars with solar panels slapped to the top of them, but hopefully this will in some way significantly help them be able to achieve that one day.
Aye, stand by. A Molto stopped again. If you're listening to this podcast, don't give a Molto 30 quid of your money. It's shite. Stick with MP3 Skype recorder or use Skype's own recorder.
Well, maybe it stopped recording because I've done quite a lot of talking on this show, and put out a load of nonsense as per usual. And it goes to show that the next story that we're going to talk about as well, I have a load of crap that I'm going to talk about with it, because Microsoft's Project Silica uses glass storage to store your data, so you'll be storing your data in glass, which means that the next version of Microsoft Windows will actually be like Windows, because you'll be able to store your cloud storage in your Windows because they're made of glass.
Very, very funny. Well done. A rib-tickling play on words.
Poorly executed, as you would expect from me. But this does sound a wee bit familiar. Was it? Yeah, it was in the article on TechSpot. They've noted that back in 1978, Superman had things stored on crystals, where he was able to watch videos back from crystals if he put them down. But yes,
another rib tickler.
Well, that was their one. That I still think mine was a wee bit better with Windows. But
yes.
Anyway, Ted, do tell us about this. Be a bit more intelligent than me.
Okay. 4 years ago, they announced Project Silica, which was in order to use sheets of glass to store data instead of what we've become used to doing, like SSDs and all the rest of it. And they were able to store at the time a copy of Superman on a piece of glass roughly the size of a drink coaster. The technology has advanced significantly, and they can now store 7 terabytes of data onto a piece of glass, which should last about 10,000 years. How they've tested that, I've no idea. But the point about this is that it should be longer lasting, they reckon, whereas traditionally on SSDs and other storage mediums, stuff breaks and it wears out, and it in terms of the long run, because of the way that they've stored the stuff on the glass differently, it will make it more robust and better. With magnetic tapes and other forms of media, in the long run, it just kind of it's not a long lasting medium, and you've got to think about. We've spoken about this before with our 16 terabyte hard disk drive from Western Digital, and you say, oh, that's great, that's me fixed for life, but actually it's not, because they reckon that it'll only last between 5 and 10 years, and you've got to be thinking about it again. But anyway, I mean, this is aimed at not as ordinary people at this stage, but in terms of data storage facilities and all the rest of it. And they reckon that this glass-based system, which involves etching in a clever way and blah, blah, blah and whatever, then it should be long-lasting and much more robust.
Fair enough. A Malto just crashed while you were giving that, so it's not just me and the nonsense I'm talking.
I'm going to uninstall that stupid Malto and write the 30 quid off to Experience. Good grief.
Yeah, they're getting quite a bit of negative press on the Tech Addict show here, so we'll have to start taking down their headquarters as well.
Yeah.
But yes, no, it does sound quite kind of interesting, and I love that they're able to say that it will preserve 7 terabytes of data for 10,000 years or less, or up until someone drops it and it shatters. We've only got 1 terabyte left. Oh, right, okay. Shards will be 256 gigabytes.
Yeah.
Right. But then at the same time, yeah, you're quite right. They can't really prove this, and it's like someone walking up to your front door and knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, see this ointment here, this snake oil? If you rub it on your forehead, it'll make you much, much smarter. And it'll take for the next 75 years, you'll just be smarter and smarter and handsomer. It'll only cost you £1,000. There you go. Thank you. There you go. You buy the snake oil, rub it on your head, and that person's away with your £1,000.
A bit like a Malto, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, give them your 30 quid and off they go, laughing all the way to the bank.
Although I am noticing that one of my other things, something else has crashed as well. I wonder if it's taken it with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bizarre. Maybe it's just Windows killing tasks or something like that.
Oh, I just realised we didn't turn on Skype's own recording. We're not been doing very well today, are we? Should we start again? Let's start the recording again, shall we?
Well, Audacity's still working here, so if there's no show this week, we'll know because it's Audacity's fault.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move on to, more bad news. I don't like this. I don't like this one little... No, I do like this. This one's all right. We'll be coming back to the company. Like. Yeah. The thing that I do like is Elgato's prompter is arriving. And I've often wondered this. I remember I tried to do the Mobile Tech Addict show or the Tech Addict show on YouTube where I was, presenting a piece to camera. And I'd sort of written out a bit of a script and I was having a go and trying to get my eye level so that it was looking at the camera, but I could also see the script just below, trying to present something to it. And I started looking into the idea of buying a teleprompter so that things would work a lot easier. And I couldn't find one. They were really expensive or really crap. But now Elgato have jumped on it and decided that streamers are actually looking for this kind of thing and being able to present things on YouTube in the privacy of your own home. They're manufacturing a slightly cheaper version of the teleprompter. It's coming in at $280. You can order it off Elgato's website and you'll be able to, do all kinds of teleprompter-y things on YouTube. What do you think of this?
Apparently it works through a mirror, as these things do, like an SLR camera, really. And you put your recording device behind the 45-degree angle so that gets projected onto that, and your SLR camera or your phone or whatever you're recording with sits behind the 45-degree glass, and it records you. You've still got the problem of your eyes going left and right reading, I suppose. And actually, you don't do any of this face to camera stuff. You do it to your table, don't you? So it wouldn't really help you. But some people it would. I remember Aidan Bell, my colleague from Whatever Works website. He was after a teleprompter.
Another plug.
Yes, indeed. He was after it, as sponsored by Whatever Works, with no money. He was after a teleprompter, and he ended up using a tablet, a Lenovo tablet, which I sent over for him, and that worked well for him. But this would be just a perfect solution for him, actor extraordinaire, and he'll be able to do it. But anyway, yeah, for you, as I was saying, it wouldn't be much use, really, would it?
Well, this is one of the reasons why I never did do to camera, because you want to be able to have the words presented to you, and I have a knack of not being able to remember the next word in my sentence. So, it causes a problem that way, and also I do like being able to watch YouTube and go, right, where's this person's laptop? They've got it really close to underneath the camera, because you see their eye line just isn't right. It's almost right, but it just isn't right. And they're reading off something underneath. Yeah. I think there is a whole science and an art of, if you're sitting in front of a BBC teleprompter, there's a certain distance you have to be from it to be able to A, read it correctly, and B, not see your eyes go left to right. And if you look very closely at some of the hosts, or the not quite so professional hosts on Have I Got News for You, like if it's Boris Johnson or someone hosting it, you will see him sort of even moving his head a wee bit as he's reading it, because that's how people tend to read. They move their head, I think, maybe just as often as they move their eyes whenever they're reading along a line when it's quite large as that. So you tend to see that. There's a whole other side of it, and I never wanted to do in front of camera without a teleprompter,
right?
Which I think Alan he hosted a show where he had to do. It was called Kraken Country. It was years ago. He and a local news presenter, when she was first starting out, called Tina Campbell, went out to Nashville, and the two of them were investigating country and western music. And he had to do pieces to camera, and I think he had to go and actually go away, learn the whole script, and then sit down and be able to recount or to do it directly to camera. And it was at a time before, it was using tapes, digital tapes and things. So he was able to kind of redo it over and over again, but to a certain extent. They couldn't quite easily just go and wipe the tapes or whatever. He had to get it right eventually and quite quickly. So there was a bit of pressure that way. Whereas having a teleprompter would be a lot easier. This is potentially portable too.
Yeah.
So you can take it with you.
And it also plugs into the Stream Deck system, which, again, Aidan's using, as are you and I now. And you can use your buttons on your Stream Deck to interact with the whole system and make it all. So it's also going to help, people. It's a really interesting. Elgato seemed to be kind of getting up there with thinking outside of the box about what people want from their products, and I'm quite like seeing what they're doing personally.
Well, yeah, it's something that I think has been. People have wanted it for a while, but they haven't, been able to just get it right where it's cheap enough to be able to do. You have been able to go on the likes of AliExpress, and there were a few that you could kind of cobble together where you use your own tablet and use your own camera, and you have to mount them in, but they've either been flimsy or they just haven't worked that well, whereas Elgato have taken the time and got their R&D department to go and make it feasible. And I think $280 is a very attractive price.
Yeah. And
it'll be something that people swear by. I don't think it's something that people are going to upgrade terribly quickly, so that they'll probably buy this and that'll last them for a good long time. So it'll be a one-off purchase, and it's priced to cover that too. Yeah. No, I think this will be good. I'd like one, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to start appearing in front of camera.
No, very wise. Not that you're unattractive, of course.
No, I'm getting old, so I'm not the spring chicken that I used to be. We can't all be Alan Gill bloody day, who's almost 60 and looks like he's a 30-year-old pin-up.
Yeah, bastard.
Yeah, totally. Damn his deep blue eyes. Right, Ioneo Flip. That's where we're going next. Onto a gaming device, or a portable computer, I suppose, if you like. This is a clamshell gaming device that's looking to launch in December from the Ioneo company, who make some of the most interesting portable gadgets out there. It's going to have a 7-inch, 120 hertz IPS panel on there, and powered by a Ryzen 7 7840U, which is a damn good processor. It looks like something I've seen before, but I can't quite place where. I keep thinking it's the original NVIDIA Shield. If you remember, they released a handheld version of it before they started making... Was it even called the Shield? Maybe it was. Before they released it for home entertainment systems, it was originally a portable games console that you could play on the go. And maybe it's that's stuck in the back of my mind, and I haven't seen it in a while, but I reckon this will be an absolute killer. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I really like the look of this. There's no word on pricing that I can see there, but no, I can't see any pricing. But that keyboard, it's like going back to like a Scion or something. With a kind of games element to it as well, but also being able to do. I don't know. I just like the keyboard. I just like keyboarded devices, and even though I'm guessing that's going to be tiny, teeny little keys to press. It can't be any worse than some of the phones we've seen where they tried to do keyboards on them, which are even smaller, because this is bigger. And if you look at that other photograph of it closed up, it looks like it's really attractive. It looks like it's made like a pebble. The edges and the corners are really smoothly, almost apple-like in design. And I really, really like the look of this. I'm not sure what it's going to be able to do. Is it just a games machine, or is it going to have Windows on it? Or did you mention the operating system, or do you know?
No, I haven't yet. There's not much known about it. But what I'm going to do is I've just been doing a wee bit of Googling there, and I've found an image of it on Weibo, and it seems to have two different versions. I'm going to put it in the show notes for you to have a wee look at.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Yes. With a trailing
there
wind.
We
go. Ah, here we are. Oh, yeah.
There's two. There's one which they're calling
This is a 3DS. That's a Nintendo 3DS.
It is. There's the Ioneo Flip DS, which is the dual screen, similar to the Nintendo DS, and then the Aya Flip KB, which is keyboard design. So we have two that we're looking at here, but given the size of those thumbsticks, it is really small.
Yeah, so the keyboard's going to be tiny, isn't it? But I don't know. I'm just a sucker for cute, QWERTY keyboards on devices like this.
It's probably going to be as wide as your Nintendo Switch Lite. If you were to think that keyboard is probably about the same size as the screen in between those thumbsticks on your Nintendo Switch Lite. Yeah. It's tiny.
It is, yeah. But you could argue it's better to have than to not have. But then, the other one looks like just a games machine. But I'm wondering if that's got a keyboard, because they're putting some other OS on it as well, or an option for Linux or something. I don't know. It's early days probably to be able to know what this is really all about.
I do reckon it'll probably be Windows that it runs, primarily because it's running on that Ryzen 7, and that's a beefy processor.
Right.
And also looking closely at the keyboard, there's a Windows button. So dead giveaway.
Dead giveaway. We should have spotted that.
Well, we did here live on air.
Oh yeah, there it is. Look, I quite like the white one. I don't like the black one so much. The white one looks nice, and
the white one will get covered in thumbprints.
Yeah.
From your dirty thumbs down the coal mines.
Yeah, I really like this. I do. I think it's nice. I want one. I wish they would price it so we could see if it's within range of mere mortals.
It'll be £1,000 probably.
What?
Yeah, between £800 and £1,000, I'd imagine.
Wow.
And then you get a top end one because the Ryzen. There's going to be a Ryzen 5 version of it as well, the 7640U, and then the Ryzen 7. So there'll be two flavors at least.
Right.
And whenever you combine that with memory prices and stuff like that, and the fact that it's got, well, one's got one dual screen and one's got non-dual screen. The price will rise quite quickly, I imagine. It's not going to be a £500 thing.
No.
No.
What a shame.
Totally. But we'll move on to something that I guess that you would probably want to have sitting beside it.
Oh, yeah. The Soundcore are just evil, aren't they? They keep putting out these lovely Bluetooth speakers, tempting those of us who've already got a cupboard full of the blooming things. This is essentially a mini version of the X600, which we spoke about on the show before. And this is an X500, imaginatively. And it's from what it looks like, it's exactly the same as the X600, only it's more portable. It's about half the size in width, but it's designed exactly the same way. And it's got the same claims about the spatial sound, which you can switch on or off on the top. It's just more portable. And it looks like £170. It's not cheap. That's almost the same price as the X600 in actual fact, but they're really beautifully made. They're really nicely made, and that top firing speaker really does make a difference to the spatial. When you turn it on, you can actually hear the sound going around and then turn it off again, and you say, "Oh yeah, of course, that is spatially aware." Now, whether technically that's true, I mean, we've talked before about Sony's Reality Audio 360 and how it's a bit of a kind of smoke and mirrors, but it does make a difference. Anyway, I'm waffling now. The X500 is half the size of the X600, but not half the price, but very, very dinky and looks cute and lovely.
Yeah. It is. It seems like a really funky thing you can see kids walking down to the beach with and playing with, and because it comes in those different colours as well, blue, pink and grey, it does look very tasty.
Oh no, sorry, it's 130 quid. What was the 170 then? The Soundcore Motion X500, 170 quid. The Motion X500... Oh, it's discount. Oh, I say, right, yeah, they're doing the usual Soundcore trick. If you buy one ahead, it'll be 130 quid instead of 170. And also, we also know that that's smoke and mirrors as well, because in 3 months' time, on Amazon, it'll still be 130 quid. So, actually, it is cheaper than the X600.
Yes. And it'll also, that gives you 40 reasons to pick one up.
Yeah, it's very tempting. No, have you ever counted up how many Bluetooth speakers you've got in your cupboard? Grief.
Well, I was thinking that if you were to stick them all on eBay at £5 each, you could flog them all and then buy one of these.
No, but I like the ones I've got.
But you don't need them once you get one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it being as bassy as my Marshall Stockwell 2, which I'm now fondling because that's got bass to die for. Anyway, carry on.
All right, staying on the audio flavour, Qualcomm's new audio chip is going to use Wi-Fi to extend its headphone range. It's a wonder that they haven't done this before, but I suppose, yeah, they haven't. So, do you understand this? Obviously, there's you use a Wi-Fi access point to relay it.
So, it's quite simple, really. Is that this new chipset, when it gets into devices, is going to make sure that if you're walking around connected to Bluetooth audio to your device, when you get to the end of the range, as long as you're still within the Wi-Fi network that your device is connected to as well, it will continue to connect you and play the music over Wi-Fi instead of Bluetooth. That's basically it. And yes, you're right. It's a wonder this hasn't happened before, and perhaps it has. But the Qualcomm at their event last week have made it baked it into one of their new, or in fact, two of their new chipsets, the S7 and S7 Pro Gen 1. And so, yeah, sometime in the next year, no doubt, we'll see devices that have got that capability, which is great.
And will most headphones be compatible with this, or do you need a special type of headphone?
No, because it just works on the Wi-Fi, it switches over. So the chipset sorts it out. As long as your phone has got that, or your device has got that chip in it, it'll sort it out.
Okay, all right. It'll be interesting to see it roll out then. Fair dues. Right, the phone zone. We've got a couple of phones to talk about, and we're going to start with updates on the iPhone. And it looks like they're going to be presenting a new and interesting way for you to be able to have your phone updated when you buy it.
No, before you buy it. Apple reckon that they're going to sometime soon, when their iPhones are sitting in boxes in retailer stores, they're going to be able to remotely, while the box is still sealed, cellophane and all, turn the phone on, update the software, turn the phone off afterwards, after it's been updated, and then when you buy your iPhone, it's going to have the latest and greatest software on it. Which the first thing I thought about with this is battery, because whenever you update your phone, as we all know, it tends to use quite a lot of battery. So now they're not talking about security updates; they're only talking about major OS updates with this. So it wouldn't happen very often. But I guess it's good, really, that people buying an iPhone, when they open the box, it's right up to date. But I just, as I say, I just fear a bit for the battery. And it's a bit Big Brotherish, isn't it? And can you imagine working in a phone shop and you suddenly, well, it might be silent, I suppose, but if it's not silent during the night, you hear all these things starting up. What bloody hell's that?
Yeah, true. But you got to wonder how they're going to go about this, because obviously this is going to rely on wireless charging and having a wireless connection for data to be transferred across and through the box, so that the phone would have to be inside the box in some form of standby state.
Yeah.
That a particular signal from somewhere is going to turn the phone into a limited bootloader for you to be able to load on the updates. But I wonder if this is this the first step toward getting rid of the people in the Apple stores? You know, if this was to be successful, the next step for doing this would be whenever you have a problem with your iPhone, you'll be able to bring it in and just set it on one of these pads, and it'll do some sort of scan to say, oh, yep, obviously your oscillating Huselbinder isn't working here. We'll either need to replace it, or here's a software method, and you'll be able to remotely be able to diagnose a problem with an iPhone, and therefore you don't need to have someone standing beside you in the shop taking your details to be able to replace your iPhone or fix your iPhone that way. And I see that as I remember having a conversation with a guy who worked in one of the garages I took my car into, and he said that I think it was my dad's Mercedes, was it? I can't remember. I took a car in, and they had to hook it up to the machine to be able to work out what the error code was. And he said that I think they had to make a payment, or they had to detail the fact that it had been hooked up on that day to be able to buy a token to be able to redeem what the diagnosis of what was wrong with the car. And I thought that this is really sort of backwards. Why do I have to bring the car in to be able to put this plug in, so that this computer, which is a special computer, has to get a token from BMW or Mercedes or whatever it was to be able to diagnose the problem? Why can't they just put all the software that computer is running inside the car, and then it pops up and says, oh, your oscillating Huselbinder isn't working. Go to your nearest garage and tell them that it's not working. Instead, the garage or the mechanic you have to go to has to have this particular computer and be able to buy the token to be able to diagnose the fault with the car. Mm-hmm. And it's money, but it puts everybody out. And as a result, it's like, well, I'm not going to buy a BMW or a Mercedes or whatever that type of car was, because that's a real pain in the ass. Gone are the days where you were able to just drive into a mechanic and he'll go, or she'll go, let me hear the noise of the car. Ah, right, that sounds like the oscillating Huselbinder is wobbly and needs to have a little bit more grease put around it, and then fixes the problem, and you drive away that day satisfied. Instead, you have to go through this painful process that could be relieved by software being in the car to go, oscillating Huselbinder problem there. But I think that this could be that type of setup where your iPhone will eventually need to be repaired, and you'll be able to set it on, and they'll be able to go, oh, yes, it's this and this, put it through this box here, or set it in this drawer.
A wireless pad is what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it needs to be, well, presumably stock rooms will be made of these wireless pads eventually, but yeah, go on.
Well, yeah, you can have those at the shop front, so you don't actually need to walk up to someone and say, I've got a problem with my unit. Here, just set it on that, and we'll diagnose the problem. And then eventually get rid of the staff, and then you have to get rid of them, their hourly rate and their pension and their working ethics and things like that, and they'll just be able to. The Apple store will become a booth. You can set your phone there, and away you go.
Indeed.
Yeah, sorry, that went a wee bit of an odd tangent, but it happened, and we all feel a bit dumber because of it.
Yes, indeed. I certainly feel dumb most of the time.
Well, even dumber on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll move on to something else that probably makes a bit more sense for people to listen to, and that's the Realme GT5 Pro. And the specs have come out, and it's going to have a 6.78-inch AMOLED display, which is slightly larger than the ones that Ted gives up about frequently. It's got an Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 inside of it, and up to 1 terabyte of storage. I've just remembered Oppo contacted me about something recently about they're going to be the first phone on the scene to have that Gen 3, aren't they?
I thought it was Xiaomi, which is a story we're coming to.
No, it's Oppo, definitely Oppo. Okay. They're really pleased about how they're going to be the first phone out there, and then 6 minutes later, Xiaomi and Realme will have it. But Oppo got there first.
Okay.
So what else can we expect from this rather delicious looking device, to be honest?
I don't know. Realme is a device that is a sub-brand of the BBK group and what was Oppo, and we haven't had a Realme in at PSC Towers for absolutely ages. The last one we had quite an innovative zoom. I think it was a 50 times zoom. I can't even remember the name of it, to be honest. But it's about time Realme had another cracker of a device. And this one with 1 terabyte of storage and as you say, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, it looks like they're meaning business and coming back into this. 16 gigs of RAM as one of the options for people to buy, and a big battery. No mention about wireless charging, or indeed charging speeds. Well, I did see a story that this might be one of the ones where they're sticking in 240 watt charging, and 50 watt wireless charging as well. So that's not in this article, but I did kind of read that somewhere, I think. And yeah, I really like the Realme thing. I quite liked the software on it. I thought it was not too offensive. I quite liked what they did with Android. As I did with Oppo, really. I quite the one that I don't like much is what Xiaomi do and what Poco do. I find that I don't really get on with that very well, but certainly Realme Oppo I think is quite a good thing, and it looks like it's got a really nice AMOLED screen as well. There's more information coming. This is a kind of preliminary leak on the specs, but perhaps on the next show we'll know more about it.
Yeah. Hopefully one day we'll have an idea of what exactly is going on with it. Yeah, it does look good, and a price would be nice as well.
Yeah,
because those specs are too good for budget or mid-range. But then Realme does tend to do good things with prices.
Yeah, definitely. But that does bring us to the Xiaomi 14 and 14 Pro, who are claiming that they're first out of the gate with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. And these devices, again, I mean, stylistically, they followed down this route that others are doing, which is making them look like 3-year-old iPhones with this flat, metallic kind of band round the outside. Looks just like an iPhone SE 2020 to me, and I don't particularly like that, to be honest. I didn't like it on the Nothing phone either. I don't know why they can't just do their own thing, and they don't need to copy Apple in everything they do. The other thing I don't like about this is if you look at the photographs of it, that camera square is a complete abomination. I think it's just so ugly and horrible and clumsy looking. It just sticks out like a sore thumb, and it looks oversized for the size of the device. Well, both devices, because this is the 14 and 14 Pro. Obviously, the 14 Pro is the more higher spec device. The one thing that they're shouting loudest about with this as their USP, apart from claiming to get it first out the gate with the 8 Gen 3, is the 3000 nit AMOLED panel. So they reckon that they've got the brightest panel that's ever been made. We'll have to see about that, because, again, people will be chasing them on that if it's true. But I don't know. I just think there's loads of specs available for this one, and we can drill through it. The pricing looks okay, but I just think it looks disgustingly horrible, don't you?
I don't know. I think I'm all right with it. The camera bump does look somewhat large, but no, I think it looks rather sleek, iPhone-esque. No, I like it. Actually, I'm going to say I like it.
Okay then.
Just to be controversial.
That's the end of that conversation. the 16 gigabyte. Right. Okay. So the iPhone 14. Sorry, the Xiaomi 14. Freudian slip there. The Xiaomi 14 is the 256 gigabyte, 8 gigs of RAM base model is 560 quid. So they're doing really well on pricing there. Yeah. The 256 12 gigs of RAM model is €600. The 512 16 gig model is looking at €700. So no. The 16 gigabyte, 1 terabyte storage one is €700. So in terms of pricing, they're just knocking it out of the park, aren't they? They must be they must be lost leaders, I reckon. So compelling in terms of pricing. No wonder they do well.
You can understand a loss leader whenever it comes to something like the PlayStation 5, where you're constantly buying stuff for it. But this, you buy the phone and that's it. It's not you don't pay them anything monthly for this, so it can't be a loss leader. It just goes to show how much Apple must make on every unit. What does an iPhone cost them now? $280 or something to manufacture, and they sell it for $1,500.
This has also got the HyperOS new OS on top, which apparently looks exactly like MIUI used to look, but that's a matter of opinion. So that's a thing as well. But yeah, it's just really, really well priced. I hope it's not bloated with bloatware though, because I know that this is probably apples and pears being compared here, but we had a more budget Xiaomi device which we gave to a chappie, a friend of my parents here, and he had a problem with it the other day, and he asked me to help him, and as soon as I turned it on, you go into the problem he had was with assigning a ringtone, and you go into the ringtone section, and before you do anything, you've got adverts popping up at you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm hoping that that's just because it's a budget one, it's a cheap phone, and they knock it out the park with pricing, of course. But yeah, adverts popping up, nagging you to go and do this and do that and the other before you can actually get to the sounds involved. And that was true of a number of the bits of software on the Xiaomi device. Anyway, I'm trusting that paying more money for a device will not be... right, your turn.
No, I'm quite interested in what you were saying there. I'll have to investigate. Because I'm looking through a bunch of different images for this and thinking, that is a gorgeous phone there. And it's a really nice price. Now that my Pixel 6 Pro is coming to the end of its life, I have to make decisions on what to replace it with, and I have mentioned that I'm interested in the new Samsung, but at the same time, with this being half price and looking so good and having such attractive specifications inside, I would be hard pressed not to do something like this. But then you tell a horror story like that, and
it may not be true. As I say, when you go up the range, it might not be true at all, but it certainly is on that one. Of course, that pricing is based, I think, on the 14, not the 14 Pro, but I could be wrong. Looking at the specs, it says the 14 Pro is from €650. So I'm guessing that if you want a 1 terabyte of the Pro, it's going to be like €800 or something. Just a wild guess. So the top end ones probably are not as cheap.
Yeah.
But
I'm just having a quick look at their webs. Oh, they've got the Xiaomi Watch S3 as well.
Xiaomi 14 Pro and the Xiaomi 14 differences. Okay, so there's they both got the 3000 nit claim screen. Oh, the 14 is smaller. Oh, that might be a bit better for me. 6.3 inches instead of 6.7 inches. It's also got a less PPI on the screen. But actually, apart from that, it looks like it's very, very similar. 120 watt charging on the big one, 90 on the small one. Yeah, apart from that horrendous lump on the back, I get what you're saying. It's a interesting idea for a shortlist. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on their website now just to see what their prices are, because I'd like to think that it would just come in at the price the 13 Pro currently is, but I can't see a price for the 13 Pro. I'm on the official listing and I can't buy it.
Probably
it won't let me.
Won't sell them anymore. They want everyone to buy the 14.
Well, yeah, the 14 is probably just about to drop on their website. But you know what Xiaomi's like? Their website constantly features great deals and all kinds of discount codes and things that you can get. I was very close to buying a tablet from them about a year ago, and I think it was just the shipping time that bothered me, because it was going to be 4 weeks or something before it arrived, in which time they could have had 6 or 7 sales and I would have been annoyed.
Oh, but here we go, the 13. Oh, that's the 13 Pro. The 13 is £849. The 13 Pro is $1,099. It makes you wonder if they got the pricing right on the 14, because if these, mind you, the 13T is $549. Yeah, I think you're right. The pricing from Xiaomi is very confusing.
Yeah, but it moves a lot quickly and frequently. Anyway,
Xiaomi smartphones 14. No, they're not, on the UK website they're not quoting 14 anyway.
Right. Well, we'll move on into some of the territory that I think you're most you've boned up quite a bit before the show, I'm sure. Because in Flap Your Trap About an App, we're going to talk about adult film star Riley Reid. That's not your girl off Countdown, is it? Riley Reid?
Is that a female?
I'm thinking so. It's a picture of a lady on the article.
Riley? Is Riley a female name?
Well, it's a type of car as well. So, yeah.
Sorry,
I guess
do
so.
carry on.
Well, she has launched Clona AI, or Clona Al, a sexting chatbot platform. It's apparently $30 a month to have an AI companion, of which Riley Reid can have some form of input on to hold intimate conversations with clientele.
Scuzzy adult chatbots.
Okay, so this is essentially an app that will you can interact with and talk about dirty fantasies, I'm guessing, and Riley Reid has had some sort of input into the responses that you would get to give them a flavour of Riley Reid.
Yeah, I think what's going on here is that they're using AI to clone her voice, and get her onto a private chat with customers. Let them think that they're talking actually to her, but actually it's AI generated two-way conversations where you can request her presumably to do whatever you want her to do. And, do whatever you want to do at your end while she's telling you. But it's all AI-generated voice, I think.
Oh, right. I was thinking it was more of I'm thinking chat as in texting or that kind of thing, and you get responses back. But you're actually going to see and speak to it, right?
Yeah, and then tell her to get her knickers off, and then she'll do it, presumably. I don't really know, to be honest. And hand on heart, I've never heard of Riley Reid.
No.
But presumably
sure
she's a porn star. That if you're into that, you will probably know. And there must be other ones. It can't be just her, surely. There must be a...
No, she would be a bit tired, I'm sure. What's the girl off Countdown called? Because I thought that's who we were talking about.
Oh,
Rachel Riley.
Rachel Riley,
oh, right.
That's right.
That's a different person.
And that's a surname, you see.
Right.
Oh, Riley.
So Rachel Riley's not on AI.
Maybe it's a play on riled up. She gets her customers riled up. It's Riley. No, I don't know. Anyway. Interesting. $30 a month for to have a quick wank?
Flippin' heck. I think I'd rather pay Brave for a VPN. I suppose you'd need that as well so that people can't trace what you're doing. But that's... are people that desperate? Oh, I suppose. It is the internet, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. It might, and a lot of people might just do it for fun, to see it working. AI is quite fascinating. I was talking to Bard earlier, trying to get some information out of Bard, and you do... You
take your knickers off, Bard.
Yeah, come on, Bard, for goodness sake. We've got...
I am AI, I do not wear.
Riley does it, why don't you? I was trying to get some information, and it can get quite conversational. You know, my mother was using the Google Assistant the other day, and fascinated by the fact that you can have an ongoing conversation with Gemma Chan, or the Gemma Chan sound-alike, and it's I suppose some people would find it quite addictive.
Yeah. I suppose it can be a replacement for maybe some social values that are lacking, or situations that aren't available to certain people in a way. But it smacks of the worst type of modern technology usage. You know what? It's the kind of thing that you would see in a movie 20 years ago about how terrible things are going to be in the future. And that's what this stands out. But I suppose, you know, because obviously Riley would probably be listening to this. She would tune in every week. Ted's absolutely putting himself forward as a beta tester. He'll certainly beat off. I can't do that.
Yeah.
If you need someone to sign up early on, then
anyway,
Ted, are you willing?
We could rely on one of our listeners to do this for us. Somebody in the listenership of this show, sign up and tell us what it's like. Well, not in great detail.
I'm just wondering, are porn stars then going to follow this and suddenly a bit like Cameo for actors who are a bit over the hill or something like that, and not getting as much work as they used to, they can go on there and subsidize their income with the fans that they have. Will this be that kind of thing where maybe $30 a month? I wonder how much Riley will take of that cut by giving her likeness over to this. Does she get maybe a third of that, and then Apple will get a third?
Yeah, you'll
buy the subscription through Apple, and then the developers will get a third.
Yeah, she won't get anything, will she? She might get some sort of royalty payoff, but she won't have to do anything.
Yeah,
the technology will be doing all what needs to be done, won't it?
And she'll have sold her likeness for them to be able to do with as they please.
Yeah.
In this.
Depending on how famous, it depends on how famous she is, doesn't it? Because if she's really famous in those circles, then maybe she's worth giving money to put her name to it. I don't know.
Well, will they be able to do this with other stars? Would they even be able to go back in time to stars that were back whenever you were reading Razzle? Will you be able to say, I'd like to see Elaine from Guildford, and then she could suddenly pop up and rock your cockles?
Yeah. Or Bo Derek. We'll have Bo Derek. And Anna de Armas for just now.
Well, you see that they're in a different... believe it or not, Ted, Anna de Armas actually makes proper movies with storylines and things like that, more convincing storylines that don't involve the plumber coming around to fix something. And
Confessions of Stars.
Well, like Linda What's-Her-Face from All Creatures Great and Small. Linda
Linda Lovelace.
I've forgotten her. No. Oh, what was that lady called? She had
Linda.
brown hair.
No,
All Creatures Great and Small. She was in
I
that.
don't remember. Sorry.
I'm
I
gonna find out
wasn't a
'cause-
fan of that show. I found it very tedious.
Okay.
Yes.
1978, there we go. And her name was Linda Bellingham.
No, don't know.
She was in one of the Carry On films. Or not Carry On, Confessions. I was shocked
Okay.
to find.
Right.
Confessions of a Driving Instructor, in fact. There you go, you can watch that tonight.
Right, thank you. I'll look forward to it.
Okay, Elgato. Elgato launches a marketplace. This is what I was talking about, that I wasn't very happy with Elgato. If you have a Stream Deck, you have the ability to add in little plugins and bits and pieces to your Stream Deck to aid you in whatever it is you happen to be doing. It was designed for streamers to be able to click a button and be able to say, open some sort of social network, or do a task where they turn on various different lights or cameras, or switch between two different screens, or all kinds of stuff. It was a real tool to be able to add macro fury to your desktop setup. Now they are changing the plugin store to a new paid app store, so that developers can now charge for these little hook-ins and plugins that they have for the Elgato Stream Deck, which is a bit of a pain in the derriere, because things that you have been able to use on this platform that you have purchased for quite a considerable amount of money will suddenly become a bit more Android store alike, and you'll probably be able to get a free version for a certain amount of time, realize that you really need this, and then have to pay £3 or £4 or whatever, however much it is, for that particular plugin to use it. And you're going to see a whole commercial boom out of these plugins. Ted, you're a Stream Deck lover. What do you think of this new change?
I have seen the thing pop up. If you click on your
We're not talking about Riley Reid anymore. We've moved on to Elgato.
If you click on your Stream Deck desktop software, you will see that it invites you to download the latest and blah blah blah, and you can go to the store. Now, this is, from what I understand it, is that this is up to now has been a largely user enthusiast driven platform, whereby it's almost like shareware or freeware, where people develop stuff because they love doing it and they put it out there. Now, as I understand it, those people who are doing that will still be able to do that. If it's an enthusiast not looking to make money out of it, they'll still be able to put their things on this new store. But it will also open it up to people who, yes, want to develop for money, make a job out of it. Given that there's the local Tesco is shut and they can't get a job anywhere else, people have got to find a way of making money, and this is a way that they can do it. So I fundamentally disagree with you. I think that it's an opening for this to be something where someone can make a bit of money out of it. They're not going to make a fortune. I mean, how many people do you know that's got a Elgato Stream Deck, for goodness sake? It's not a huge community where someone's going to make a killing on it. It's still going to be quite low key and quite low pricing for whatever. So I don't think before I spoke to you about it, or before you mentioned it just now, I actually thought this was quite positive for the community, and at last, these people that have been sitting doing developing are getting a few pennies for what they do. But you seem to have taken the other view.
Well, there's one little other piece of information that I haven't actually put across yet. In order to now add any plugins to your Stream Deck, you have to sign up for an account at Elgato. Previously, you were able to plug the Elgato Stream Deck into your computer and benefit from the plugins. You didn't have to sign up for things, but now you do.
Oh right. Well, what you mean, us, the end user?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
So you have to hand over all your information to Elgato in order to be able to continue using those plugins that you have.
No, you don't. I didn't have to do that.
Sorry, I will rephrase that. Yes, all the plugins that I have are there, but for me to be able to add in any new plugins, potentially update the plugins I currently have, I now have a new interface at the top that shows me that I have to sign up for an account with Elgato.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I think you're right. I take it back. I stand corrected to your greater knowledge, the much wiser human being than me.
Are you kidding?
Everyone's a wiser human being than me.
I don't know about that. I give you a run for your money.
Right, so if I click on sign in, I thought that I already had an account. I'm sure I have. I'm going to click on Google as my sign in, choose an account, so Google can manage it for me, and I am now signed in. Okay, yeah, they did already know me, because I've got a profile. Yeah, I'd already done this. So it doesn't make any difference to me. But yeah, if you want to remain anonymous, then it would make a difference by the looks of it.
No, I've never signed up for one, and I can't log into their website without setting up a new profile.
Right.
Which is not right.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway.
Imagine if they're going to start doing that with your phone.
Yeah. In order to use any Google services. Yeah. Anyway, there's two sides of the story, the same story. One from me, one from Gareth, and we have different views. So, what's new?
Yeah, what's new? I wonder if you have to sign up now, do you have to give them financial information straight away, or do they let you sign up for an account without putting in your credit card details?
I don't think so, because mine is routed through Google. If you click on that sign in thingy, you see the difference now is that this is done through the web, whereas previously the stuff that you could get from their system,
the plugin
library, that's the word, that stuff has always been inside their software on your computer. And the difference now is that it's... And maybe this is the first stage to opening this up to use on a Chromebook or something, or a tablet or some other forum, because up to now it's been pretty much locked down to Windows or Linux, or I don't know if there's a Mac version of it, but I'm guessing there probably is.
Well, there is the iPhone and iPad, and I think Android as well, software feature, so you can download it to your phone and then use your phone as a stream deck.
Yes,
and have
that's
some
right.
buttons that pop up. It's an app. So obviously it's an extension of that,
Right.
where they've decided, well, let's monetize this and turn it from a plugin library to a marketplace where people can buy
There's loads
the
of stuff
ability
free,
to
though.
open up a bunch of apps.
I've just looked at some of the... I mean, you're not signed in to be able to see this, but as I said just now, tons and tons of it is free. There's the word free all over the place. There are.
Well, that's because they've only just introduced it. It's only a matter of time.
All right.
I don't think I would be shocked if there was a lot of paid ones already, because this has only just come up.
Okay. All right. We'll take stock and revisit this in 3 months.
Yeah, but it just seems that a company like Elgato is going, well, all these people are making so much money on streaming on Twitch and YouTube. We want a slice of it. So if you're using our device, you're going to have to be able to buy those little plugins that you're using on the piece of hardware that you've just bought from us to make your life a wee bit easier in streaming.
Yeah.
And it just...
They'll make a cut. And it's probably to do with the Corsair takeover in 2018. The shareholders in Corsair, who now own Elgato, are sitting there saying, right, Elgato people, in Corsair, we expect you to be showing a profit. So we haven't got enough from the hardware, because hardly anyone's buying this stuff. Let's get some more money in from somewhere else.
Well, I'm not going to sign up. I'm going to see how long I can use this for until the device becomes unusable.
Okay.
You know, does this mean I'm not going to be able to update the firmware?
No, I don't think so. I think you. How many plugins have you got downloaded and using? Is it a lot?
Oh, several.
Yeah, several. Okay, well, we'll see then. I don't think it will stop you uploading, because you've got to click on the marketplace to go to it. It doesn't affect the Windows software, I don't think.
Well, you see, I can't even update the software anymore because if I do update that it says here that it brings the marketplace.
Update software. Mind you, it's different for me because I'm already signed in, aren't I? Check for updates. Yeah, it'll be different for me because I've got an account. Apples and pears.
Oh, is that one of your plugins? How much did that cost you?
No, we're back to Reid now, aren't we?
Oh, I see. All right. And next up is YouTube is working on this sounds god awful. YouTube is working on an AI music tool that'll let you use famous voices, musicians' famous voices. So why would they do this? You know, you can start producing your own music with David Bowie's voice in it.
Yeah, but David Bowie, if he was still alive, or his estate, would get some money from it. It's a bit like Reid, isn't it? We're assuming that if she gives her name to clone AI, then she'll get some money out of it. The same way that let's say an artist that's still alive, a singer, I don't know, the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger, use his voice, and he'll get some royalties by someone doing it. The problem is with this story. The concerns that are being raised is that if people take Mick Jagger's voice and apply it to some music that they're creating, and it sounds like it's him singing it or saying it, they've got a problem already with authors, apparently, according to this article, where they're kind of fighting the fight with them because they're saying that this sounds like me, and I'm talking about something. That they're making me talk about something that I disagree with. So, I don't know, let's take the Ukraine-Russia war or something, and that someone is out there making some lyrics for a song about something, and Mick Jagger sounds like he's having a view on that, and he might say, well, actually, that's not my view. And so it feels a bit like a whole minefield, to be honest, as AI does pretty much all over the place, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I think we kind of touched on this... was it in the last projector room? That important piece of historical podcasting.
Yeah.
We were talking about Morgan Freeman and how his voice had been used in an ad.
Yeah.
But it wasn't actually him. It was an impersonator who sounded a bit like Morgan Freeman. It sounded like Morgan Freeman had done a Specsavers ad or something like that. I remember when Burt Reynolds turned up in a Specsavers ad. It was like, what? This can't be him.
Yeah.
But you know, it is actually going to cheapen the person's brand. Mick Jagger singing some crap song that appears on YouTube that someone's put together to illustrate a kid's video or something like that is obviously going to sully his image a good bit. And for the few pennies, because I can't imagine YouTube's going to let you be able to use David Bowie or Mick Jagger's voice for $3.99. To be able to put on the top of your track. It's either going to have a sizable amount of money, but also some sort of contract attached to it that you can't be doing this, that, and the other. You know, you couldn't be making a transphobic song and then sticking... no, wait, that works the other way around, isn't it? You wouldn't be able to do a pro-trans song and sticking J.K. Rowling's voice in it. You know, that would obviously be against her ideals.
To be fair, the article does say that this is nowhere near getting out there. It's that they're working through the implications of it all that we're describing, and clearly it's a bit of a minefield, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I don't think I couldn't imagine a situation where this would be good. And I'll throw that out to the listeners if you're listening. How could this benefit anyone in any way? Aside from obviously being able to take Ted and my voices and put them into an intelligent podcast where we're having a spirited debate and actually know what we're talking about, then that could actually have good ramifications for us. But for the most part, it would be terrible.
But on the turn that around on its head, and we could put out Tech Addicts podcasts every fortnight, and it would be sounding like David Bowie and Mick Jagger talking to each other, but with what we're saying, and that could be really good fun, and they might get a bit of money out of it.
Well, yeah. And then what about people who have passed on? You know, would you be able to, say, Peter Cook and Dudley Moore?
Yeah.
Would we be able to do Derek and Clive doing Tech Addicts instead?
Yeah.
Or would that not be allowed? You know, would it not be available to them?
Interesting points, isn't it? The evolution of AI is really interesting to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Or is it some sort of step toward preventing this from happening, where we have seen people mimicking Morgan Freeman and maybe Donald Trump or something and putting their voices over something that will be able to shape the legislation that stops people from doing that, hopefully.
All very confusing.
Yeah, yeah, and it helps actually have some sort of legal weight toward controlling where people are putting people's voices into things, and you'll be able to strike back, and Morgan Freeman can do something about that Specsavers ad or whatever it was. It probably wasn't Specsavers. It's not fair that I say that was Specsavers a couple of times. Whatever it was, that ad, and he'll be able to take them to court because it'll be legislated against. Anyway, right, moving on to something
more AI.
More AI.
This is the story about. It's a quick and simple one. It's about Amazon making available a tool to people selling stuff on Amazon, where they can take a picture of a toaster, in this case, as an example, and add a background to it. So it's nothing really that like Google aren't doing or some other company are doing, but it's just saying, right, you've got a toaster you want to sell. You've got no nice background to put behind it. Here's a nice rustic kitchen, and you can put the background behind it. So it's as simple as that, really. And I can't really see any troublesome implications about that. It's just about having a nice backdrop to sell your stuff.
Are you kidding? This is the worst.
Why?
You'll be able to go onto Facebook and take people's photographs and put stuff in it, so you could have
you could,
Ted, you're
Amazon
lounging on the beach.
This.
I know, but you could be lounging on the beach and someone stuck Jimmy Hoffa's body in behind, and you get implicated in the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa.
You've got to trust that Amazon are going to not let people just go completely free with it. It's going to be a set of backgrounds that they make available in order to do this. I'm the naive one perhaps here, but that's what it sounded like to me.
No, it'll just improve on what other people are attempting to do on Amazon, where I was looking at a DAC earlier today, and it showed the DAC in various different situations.
Yeah.
And it was sitting on top of like a unit in someone's living room, and it was half the size of the television. And then it showed another one where it was sitting on the floor beside someone's desk, or maybe it was on the desk, come to think of it, and it was, about 4 inches long. Just like, well, hang on a second. Did anyone look at this image that they had before, where it's sitting on the entertainment console and it's larger than a PlayStation 5?
Right, hang on a minute. I've got to open the window because it's getting to be like a bloody oven in here again, which means we're going to have trains going by. So tough titty, everyone.
Folks, I'd like to just to tell you what's actually happening here. Ted has passed wind because it's freezing, and he's about to vomit.
It's so hot in here, honestly. I should have opened the door earlier. It's really, really hot in there. As soon as the sun comes out, it starts baking. Anyway, sorry, back to you.
Okay. Oh, look, it's cloudy here, and it's 13 degrees. Mm-hmm. Right. I'm a bit cold, actually. But I'll open the window if it passes wind, certainly. Right. Microsoft is thirstily injecting
thirstily
whenever you try to download Chrome, because that's what everybody does straight away.
Yeah, this is getting a bit.
Well, those who aren't up to speed with the night.
Have you noticed? I've noticed it. It's really annoying because I recently set up a new computer. In fact, I did a laptop as well. And you just get littered with these stupid adverts and nag screens, and now the pièce de résistance is the survey which you've got to carry out. and it's just really annoying. So Microsoft are just saying, if you dare to buy a Windows computer and you dare to not use Edge and make it default, we will nag you until you give in or dig your heels in, and beware that we're going to come after you. Very annoying.
How is it, whenever you go to unlock your computer, if you click your mouse button to sort of wake up your computer, that your mouse happens to be on the tell me more about this image thing, and then when you unlock your computer, it opens up Edge, which has been disabled, updates all the bits and pieces, creates all the cookies that it needs to, and then tells you about the image that's on your lock screen?
Mine doesn't do that.
I've noticed over and over again, I've just been so unlucky. There's a bit of text that pops up on the lock screen from Microsoft that to sort of tell you about the image that's on there.
Right. You can,
I don't.
You can turn all that off in settings.
You can, but it turns itself back on.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Just like Microsoft Edge turns itself back on whenever you bloody well click that. And before you know it, OneDrive is up and running.
So right, okay, I'll check this next time I do this. So if you're going from the lock screen, you reckon that when you wake it up, it will be on, the mouse cursor will be on what they want you to click?
Yeah, it's about there.
Okay.
For you, because you'll have the lock screen, and then you have to click on the lock screen to bring up the bit where you put in your PIN or your password or thumbprint or whatever it is that you happen to do to unlock your computer. But there's the initial lock screen that says this computer is locked.
Maybe that's a Windows 11 thing. On my Windows 10 computer, all I do is I touch the space bar, and immediately I can put my PIN number in. That's it.
Before you touch the space bar.
Okay. All right. I'll look tomorrow. I shall look and report back.
Wiggle your mouse about. There'll be text somewhere on it that says, okay, tell me about this picture, or something like that. I can't do it right now because I'll have to lock my computer to do that.
Indeed. But, understood.
But yeah, I always end up clicking on that. It opens up Edge. And I'm just thinking, am I just the most unlucky clicker, or is that some sort of strategy?
Nicest thing that anyone's ever called you. No, we're over 2 hours, and we're only halfway through the show. So we better get on to Chrome Coroner.
Okay, far away, Ted. Tell us about Chrome Coroner.
Gmail on the web adds icons, making navigation menus easier. And this is in Gmail, when you right mouse something, previously, you get a list of options, and now you got a little picture by each of them. Very, very nice addition. Why not, indeed? Google's new image verification tool combs metadata to find context and sniff out AI fakes. So what this is saying is that, this is an article from Engadget, which is saying that going forward, when you look at a picture in Google search, it will not only tell you about the picture, but it will tell you how it's been used, where it's been used, who owns it, whether you have the right to use it, loads of metadata about each picture, so that you can't, going forward, actually say, I didn't know that belonged to someone else, that sort of thing. Yeah. Chrome...
oh, no.
What? There's a new Chrome feature which is about more privacy, and it's called IP protection. That's coming soon, apparently. They're testing it at the moment with beta. And that is essentially going to be if you can imagine a VPN, but only for Chrome. So it's protecting your privacy by routing all of your activity through the Google server. So it's just like Google's VPN, really, except that it's just about Chrome. And they're not only going to do it once, but eventually they're going to do it twice. There's the 1216 to crew. They're going to do it twice and put it not through one IP protection scheme process on their server, but a second one as well, which means that no one will be able to see what you're doing and what you're up to, except Google, of course. Your Pixel phone can now screen calls to ask if they're urgent. This story is about the fact that the call screening function, people have been saying that it's very unfriendly. And because if a member of the family calls you and you put call screening on the go, it says, think, what do you want? Who are you? Because it's assuming that it's a spammer. But this actually gives a new button that says, is your call urgent? And you can press yes or no. And if you press yes, then the person will know that it's a member of the family that needs your urgent attention, in which case you can pick up the call. If they say no, then it goes back to the other system. It's a small change which is been baked into the call screening thing. And lastly, Google Keep rolls out that text formatting that we were talking about on the show a couple of months ago, I think, for new notes, but it doesn't do it for old notes. So if you make a new note in Google Keep on Android, then you can actually use rich formatting on it. And I've done this and I've seen it working and it works fine. But you can't do it on existing notes. And also, if you subsequently look at that note on another device that's not Android, at the moment the rich text formatting is ripped out. So if you go to Keep on your Chrome desktop browser, you won't see what you've done. It's just all ordinary. But it's there and it's working on Android for those that wish to use it. Right, finished.
Wow, that was a good brief tour. Yeah, sure. All right, well, we're going to stick with you because you're going to talk about a retro-dastic Bluetooth cassette player.
Yeah, hark back, we've kind of thought that might need a bit of adjustment as we go forward. Not necessarily always looking back at something, but also looking at something in the news at the moment that is to do with something retro. And this Bluetooth cassette player is indeed that, based on the 1979 Sony Walkman TPSL2. It's a cassette player and a recorder. It runs on Bluetooth. It's Bluetooth connected, but it's also got 3.5mm audio out. It's also got 3.5mm audio in, so you can actually use a line in if you want to make on your cassette tape some mixtapes. Like we used to back in the day, or you can put a microphone on it and speak to it as well. Use it as a dictaphone if you want to. Lots of retro styling on it, of course. It's very blocky. I don't actually specifically remember the TPSL2, but if it looked like that, then it's certainly very, very blocky. It's got 12 hours of battery. It hasn't got AAs in it, unfortunately. It's got a built-in battery. They reckon it lasts 12 hours. Bluetooth 5.1. And you can put it out to your devices. It's going to cost 133 quid, apparently. Wow. Available in orange, blue, or grey. And yes, you can use cassette tapes. We knew that there was talk about cassette tapes coming back on the back of vinyl coming back, I suppose. But I've not actually ever seen anyone using it, and I can't imagine why I'd want to. But yeah, if you're really into retro, this looks like a really nice little dinky device, which would be great fun. Again, something else like that camera earlier for rich people to put in their stocking fillers. Fancy one?
I do, but I actually watched during the week. It's whenever you mentioned Guardian, or I saw Guardians of the Galaxy mentioned in the article, and it made me think of, I can't find it now, the video. It's not in my history, but I watched a guy who had ordered a bunch of stuff from Temu, Temu, this new website that just seems to be everything that Wish was. Until it starts getting cheap and crappy. Right. But he had I'm still trying to find it. He had almost like a personal stereo, essentially, that's what it was called, that was rechargeable by USB Type-C, and you could put a USB Type-C microphone into it and record directly onto cassette tape. And I'm trying to find where it was, because it looked absolutely fantastic, and I'd love to know where he got it from. But it was amongst a load of other bits and pieces that were from Temu. And I've searched Temu this morning, thinking, I'll be able to throw that in and chat to Ted about it. But I can't find it now.
Oh.
And Temu, I couldn't find cassette player or personal stereo or Walkman. It wasn't coming up. Everything but. So I do think that they are on the rise, but I think that there's somewhat cheaper options out there than this one, although the one that he had does not look anywhere near as swish as this.
Yeah.
But I'll see if I can find that
really
video.
Nice, doesn't it?
It does.
Have you got any?
It's a very nice design.
Have you got any tapes, cassette tapes?
I do actually. I've got a wee red box with some of my Transvision Vampinos in there, and Voice of the Beehive, and Aha Scoundrel Days. It's not ones that I'm too happy to admit to, but
you got any blank ones?
No, but they're dirt cheap.
Yeah. It's something that I haven't really considered buying for so long. Can you still buy VHS tapes?
I think you can, yeah. They use them in security.
Oh, right, okay.
So they might not be the brands that you recognise, but there's still some knocking about.
It looks really nice, this little cassette. I'd love one. It'd be great fun. But to start again buying tapes and, it's like, really? You already want to do this?
Yeah. Whenever you can just put yourself a wee playlist together on Spotify or YouTube Music, and it's so much easier than recording it directly to.
It's a lovely idea, but okay. Anyway, I quite fancy the blue one.
I don't understand how YouTube's history works, because I go searching for videos that I've watched and they're not there. They aren't. I'm 2 weeks ago, and it was definitely in the last week.
Did you use your desktop computer to do it?
No, my TV.
Oh, right, okay. That's the end of my suggestion.
I can remember what the guy looked like. He had a really cool style to him as well. Wow, I've found the video of the girl, Naomi Brockwell, that's her name, NBTV, for the VPN guide. It's there.
Oh, is this the red-haired with glasses? Right,
yes.
Okay.
So I watched that 5 days ago, apparently. Right. No, I think this is a bit messed up. I don't like YouTube history. It's crap. Right, moving on. Bargain Basement, because we have to get on with our lives. We don't just sit and podcast all week. Well, Ted does. Starting off, I really like these, and I want to get more of them because I have one and I think it's great. It's a smart radiator thermostat, and they're usually quite expensive, but this one seems to be quite cheap. It's been dropped in price from £75 down to £50, but still, it's really quite cool. It allows you to control the heat of an individual radiator by Wi-Fi and be able to set schedules so it goes up and down and left and right and in and out, as you would expect. It looks kind of cool. They can be kind of tricky to attach, I suppose, if you're not 100% on how to do them. But I did one in my office, and I've got it over there on the other side, and I think it's great. Although it uses two AA batteries, which run dry quite quickly. I think they last for about 6 months in it, and it's a bit of a pain having to reach down because there's furniture in front of it to replace the batteries. But maybe this works differently. I don't see.
Surely you've got to turn the water off to do that, haven't you?
I think you can turn the water off to the radiator. I don't think I turned the water off to the house.
Okay.
Because I installed this, and whenever I went to uninstall it once to move it, I then went, oh, hang on a second, this is a bit more complicated. And I don't remember actually installing it and how difficult it was, so it must have been very easy. But it came with a guide. But you can buy them and stick them on all your radiators, and for £50, I do think it's a pretty good investment, especially if it's a radiator you have trouble getting to, or if you've like me, if you've got one of those, if you've got a gas system with an average kind of temperature thermostat that you control the temperature of the whole house, then you can set your house to maybe 20 degrees or something like that, and then turn down a radiator in one particular room.
Good idea.
Which, like the one that the thermostat is in, and then that helps regulate the temperature in your house.
Oh, I like the look of his record player. You see that one? That's
Yes,
that's a nifty looking record player.
it is. It's the same size as
Look
the
at that
record.
stupid grin on his face. Like, that's probably an AI picture. He's not really there. Like, the Amazon background has put that in.
Yes, they put in that fabulous carpet as well.
Anyway, yeah, that's a good bargain, 50 quid. I'd like to do that, but I couldn't be bothered fitting them. And now you've told me that
they're easy.
Now you've told me that the batteries run out in 6 months. It's like, oh my goodness sake, I can't be bothered.
Well, I don't think it says actually in this what way it's powered. And it's only when I started talking about it, I thought, what do they use to power it? Because, well, maybe 6 months. Maybe it's once a year. It just feels like it's 6 months because it's a real pain in the bum to have to do.
Yeah.
But it sends you a notification to say that it's down to, 30%. Start thinking about it. I'm like, oh, I have to go and move that bookshelf.
Yeah. I couldn't be bothered. But I'm very pleased that you can be bothered. It's a bit ugly as well. If you scroll down on the Amazon page, all the way down, almost to the bottom, there's a picture of it with a picture of a guitar next to it, and it sticks out like a flipping. I can't think of a suitable simile, but it sticks out like a
sore thumb. No, it's. I think it's fine looking. It's just a white round cylinder, with a pretty cool little display built into it. It's a lot better than the one that I have, but the one I have is 5 or 6 years old. I'd much rather have this attached to mine.
All the reviews are really positive, I must say. Everyone likes it.
Yeah, I would have one. I think I might get one for one particular radiator that I have.
Very, very good indeed. Right, my first one is the Amazon Prime power bank that we've spoken about before, but I've not seen it as low as this. $89.99. This is the new one, the 200 watt one, 20,000 milliamp hour power bank and 200 watt output charger. It was $89.99 1 week in Prime Day, I think, but ordinarily it's $139. And yeah, looks very nice. And we spoke positively about it before.
Who's that outside? Tell them to keep it down.
Is there someone making a noise?
I heard
I
someone
can't
talking.
hear because I've got my headphones on. Sorry,
Tell them to go
I
away.
missed it. If I shout too loudly, go away, I might get in trouble. Clear off, ugly.
You'll get a reputation, won't you? Well, if you can't afford that Anchor Prime power bank, I found another one.
Yeah.
It's a tenner, £10 and 4p. It's done for 15 quid, and it's by Ockerd, Ockered. It's like Lockard, but without the L.
Well, knackered without the KNA.
Yeah. Right, okay. Well, this is a portable charger that's 10,000 milliamp hours. It's got high capacity power banks, or power cells inside it. 2 inputs, 2 outputs, and 4 LED lights. Straight to the point power bank that you take with you and plug in. No gizmos or anything like that. Just plastic box with a battery inside it.
Very nice. And I like the ribbing. I like it. I like my stuff ribbed, you know.
That's what Riley said as well.
I fed you that beautifully, didn't I? And the 4 LEDs are in the troughs of the ridges. That's actually quite nice. Yeah, I quite like that design. 10 quid. Will they ship it to you?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Right, my next one. Actually, it's not mine. It's Chris Clayton's again. He has spotted, much like that deal that we spoke about earlier, another Curry's Nintendo deal. Now, the Nintendo Switch Super Mario RPG is a real kids game by the looks of it. So if you've got really young children, it's going to suit you. I don't fancy it at all. But it's a special deal where they're knocking off 20% with a code if you stick it in there. And the code is The code is... Oh no, it's gone.
I didn't see a code.
Forget everything. Oh no, here it is. Super 20. 20% off for Super 20.
Oh yes, on the right there.
Yeah. So it's 50 quid with 20% off. So if anyone wants a very kids orientated game by the looks of it, Super Mario RPG. Thank you, Chris Clayton, for that tip off.
It says there is one other offer available on this as well, and you can get up to 100 points off Naked Wines. So you can give this to your kids and go and sit and drink wine while they're busy.
Well, they're playing
They'll be well looked after.
thing, yeah. Right, for some reason I've got two in a row. Here's a Logitech K750 wireless solar keyboard. Now, the reason I put this in, apart from the fact that it's been reduced from 95 quid to 65 quid, is that I don't think I've ever seen a solar power keyboard before, and I was going to ask you if you had, and if so, do you know if they work well, or you have to be in Tunisia for it to work?
Well, no, but I think it makes an awful lot of sense. It just, I can't believe that they haven't done this before. It does. The MX keys that I have on a standard charge, it lasts for 2 weeks or something like that, and it makes you think that maybe it's really low powered. And the mouse as well lasts for about the same time. So why not stick a couple of solar panels on there and eliminate the need to charge it up at all? Whenever these keyboards, like you have keyboards where you put in AA batteries and last for 3 years.
Yeah.
So a solar panel on top of it, it just works like one of those solar-powered calculators, and you never have to worry about changing the batteries. This is fiendish, as to quote Mr. Ted Salmon. Fiendish.
But there must be some reason why it hasn't been done before. Like it might be crap and doesn't work. I haven't looked at the reviews. Incidentally, I've been offered here 5 months at £12 a go. I brought this because it was solar-powered and blah, blah, blah. When it arrived...
You were talking about Riley Reid there again.
When I paired it up with the keyboard, it died. Mind you, everyone else. There's lots of positive reviews about it, lots of 5-star reviews. So perhaps it does work.
Suppose it would depend on the actual battery that's inside of it. I think whenever you come to solar-powered calculators, they maybe have the tiniest battery.
Right.
Whereas if this has something that's a wee bit decent, it might last for, a good few hours, then it could effectively work.
I've been using it for over a week now, and it still shows 100% battery, and I use it several hours a day too. It seems to have positive reviews.
But so does everything on Amazon. Everything's got an average of a 5-star review.
Yeah, I know. But there was one negative one there, which is encouraging. Down through what you said. Anyway, 65 quid.
Oh, it's written by Corsair.
Yes. 50, what was I saying? 5 months at $12.95 for me, and 65 quid down from 95. So if anyone fancies giving that a try, then do let us know how you get on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not getting that offer, but then I have one going at the moment. Mm-hmm. So, in that sector. Right, next up is an Amazon exclusive. This is the Samsung Galaxy M53 5G. It's a mobile phone, and it's got Android installed on it, as you would expect. It's got 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage, and it's been dropped in price from £439 down to £260. And are you getting any payment plans on that? Because
no, not only a Barclays one. I'm just looking up the specs though to see what this is about. It's got an AMOLED screen, 120 Hz refresh rate, 6.7 inches, 1080p, Android 12, but they'll keep it up to date. Dimensity 900 chipset, micro SD is available. There is a 256 gigabyte version available apparently. 108 megapixel main camera, a single mono loudspeaker, no 3.5 millimeter, fingerprint scanner on the side, 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and 25 watt charging. There you go. Nice summary.
Yeah, it is indeed. I think it's a damn fine looking phone, and I would actually consider this for my son for Christmas. I might. I will add it to my basket and possibly live to tell the tale about it. I think that does make a good, sensible purchase for a child who's a wee bit more advanced and might be wanting something, and will treat it with care.
Indeed, I agree. And lastly, sticking with Samsung Galaxy, we had the Buds Live, which I was just using a couple of days ago and remembering how incredibly, once you get them in your bloomin' ears, how incredibly good they are, really. The noise cancellation, it works okay for things that are not in-canal devices. They kind of work. But laying that aside, the things have been reduced from, well, they're never really 139 quid. When these first came out, they were 179.99. They're now 59 quid on this special deal. And all I would say is that, I was using them the other day, and they're really good. They kind of bake into the Samsung system, and they work really well. Have you got a pair?
No, I don't, but I do think I'll be getting probably the next version. I think it's due next year. There was the 2020 versions, now the 2022 versions. So I reckon they'll probably release a new set with the S24 next year.
And I've been offered £11.80 for 5 months.
Oh, that's quite good.
So, 59 quid though. And I would thoroughly recommend them, especially if you're baked into the Samsung system, with other Samsung gear, because it works nicely. Anyway, there you go. That was my last one.
Yay. All right. Well, that about brings us to the end. You'll be pleased to hear, folks. You can get in touch with us by emailing us at gareth@techaddicts.uk. I do check it from time to time. You can find us on Twitter as well, at techaddictsuk. You can find me on Twitter too, at Gareth Miles, GarethMyles. I also have my Mastodon, of which there is links in the show notes rather than me reading anything out to do with that. There is my GarethMiles.com if you get lost, which has links out to various places that I reside. Then there's Ted.
TedSalmon.com is me. That's where I hang out. I also hang out in the MeWe group, primarily, although I do have Mastodon as well. I jump in and out of there occasionally. And if you want to join us in the MeWe groups, any of them, or if you want to get links to our other audio podcasts and stuff like that, it's all at tedsalmon.com. You'll find links there. And if you want to buy me a coffee, I'd be very grateful for the stuff that I do online and in the groups. PayPal.me/tedsalmon. Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Terrific. And we hope that the week just gets better for you from here. All right, take care now, and we'll speak to you in a fortnight.
Toodle snips. Don't forget Projector Room on Wednesday, everyone.
Yes, don't forget. Another plug. All right, take care now. Bye.